Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of ICDU Copy. My name is Tamar and I'm here with
Makai Yllanes.
And Abigail Chesman.
And we're here to talk about Season 3.
Yes!
The best season.
The best season, hands down. This is my favorite episode, in anticipation to film, because it's just my favorite, so.
Honestly, I love everything about this season. I think it's just the most visually stunning season. The colors are insane. The aesthetic is insane. There's so much character development. This season is unmatched, I think.
Yeah, this season has always been my favorite, ever since I watched it. The 80s vibes you got going, and then, just a lot of really fun characters introduced, especially Robin is, one of my favorite characters. I'm sure we'll kind of, get into that later. And just kind of, good vibes, I feel like, overall.
Yeah, I think the characters definitely, what you said, Abby, the character development and then the beginning of certain characters' arcs, like Robin. I really like Erica's contribution to the season. I really like the development between Steve and Dustin, with the whole plot of the Russians and the mall and everything. And yeah, it's just, it's a great season. I love it. And I also love all the fight scenes with Hopper and the Russian guy and Hopper and the mayor, and just, yeah. It's
There's
awesome.
So much going on in this season. There's so many layers because you have all the stuff going on with the Upside Down and Will, but you also have, the Russians coming in. And at first, when I first watched it, I remember being this is so random, what's going on? But if you look at the historical context, you know what I mean? And all of that, Red Scare fever that was going on, do you know what I mean? It puts things into context, and I really like that there's so many different plot lines going on, and you have, the three different teams, and they're all kind of, split up. Everyone's doing their own thing, and then, as they always do, they come back together, and they all kind of compare notes, and then they work together to, finish it off and save the world,
Yeah. It's definitely, I think there's so much to this season that's really fun, and also, I even think about, there's some parts of the season that are, really scary and gross and things like that, which is just so, as a viewer is also, exciting to see. I think about, the whole plot with Billy and, and all the townspeople getting, taken over by the mind flare, and, the grossness that kind of becomes the mind flare when all these, rats and people are, turning into mush. It's so, it's gross, but it's so also exciting to see. And I think that just made it, such a unique season compared to, the first two.
This is a great segue. What are your guys' favorite moments from Season 3? I'll ask Abby first.
Okay, hands down, immediately, my favorite moment of Season 3 is the montage where 11 and Max, develop their friendship, because I think 11, she's had such a hard life. She hasn't really had a normal childhood, and yes, she's made friends with the guys, but at first her and Max were not friends, and so seeing her not only develop another friendship, but especially a female friendship, and having that bring out her own femininity and her just learning more about herself as a person, I feel is just such an important part of her character growth, because that's when I feel she goes from 11 to Jane. Do you know what I mean? This is the season where instead of just being the supernatural girl that is in their gang and helps them fight people and save the world, she's her own person, and she just really comes into her own in this season and learns a lot about friendship and how to be a person, and I think that's so important. And it's also just such a fun montage. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. I think my favorite moment, or the moment that I tend to go back to the most and rewatch, is with Steve and Robin in the bathroom when Robin is coming out. That's just, I don't know, such a powerful moment and such a beautiful moment. And I love the way that we see their friendship develop over the course of the season. The constant bickering back and forth, the great banter that they have, and the moment where Steve kind of, realizes that Robin is gay, and then, immediately it's not he, goes against her or anything like that. He's just it goes back into their friendly banter, him saying oh, Tammy Thompson, but she sounds like a Muppet. And it's so ridiculous, but it's so them, and it fits them so well. And I think that moment I go back to a lot. I really love the Steve, Dustin, Erica, Robin, all those sequences
Scoops
in
Troop.
this. The Scoops Troop, exactly. It's it's so, that's my favorite part of the season, or anything with them was really great. So, yeah.
Steve and Dustin, my favorite duo. I would say my favorite, this is a hot take because I don't like, Lucas is never my favorite in any of the
Really?
seasons. Like, he's a great character, but he's never, like, my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, when they're in the store and he gets those stupid fireworks, and he, like, no one thinks that he's right about that at all. And, like, everyone thinks that they're never going to use that, like, when they're preparing to fight the Mind Flayer in the Battle of Starcourt. Which is, like, the best episode of the whole show, by the way.
Epic. Hello.
And then he throws, and you know, in that moment, he throws the fireworks into the Mind Flayer, and it like lights it. He played one of the biggest, besides Elle, like the biggest role in the Battle of Starcourt, I would say, like with the decision of the fireworks and how fired that, like the sequences are when everyone's throwing the fireworks that Lucas brought, or you know, his idea was to bring them. That was so cool. And that's definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
But, like, Robin coming out to Steve is so important. Like, not only for social context, because I feel like in other areas of the show, it lacks a little bit of, like, it lacks a little bit of diversity. But, like, I was talking about this in another episode that I think that is important to be realistic, too, because it is set in, like, rural, like middle of nowhere Indiana, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't make sense if there was in the 80s. So it wouldn't make as much sense if there were like a bunch of different kinds of people as opposed to like just white people in the town. But we get like the hints of it, like Dustin's cleidocranial dysplasia and how Gaten Matarazzo like really like wanted that to be written into his character, and then like the Sinclair family and everything. But I really think that in this moment we get like Steve's reaction to it, and how I think that if he was confronted with something like that in season 1, he would have reacted very differently to it. And yeah, like it's a really great point, Makai.
Steve has probably, in my opinion, one of the best character arcs in any television show in our day and age. Like, genuinely, like, I know we're talking about season 3, but just thinking about him from season 1 all the way to season 5, which is so soon, it's insane. He is like 2 different people. Also, I have to say, Susie, do you copy? Like, that whole arc. I love the idea that Dustin, he's like, oh, I have this summer camp girlfriend, and she lives in Utah, and, like, she doesn't really have a phone. Like, I can't really talk to her. And they're all like, oh, yeah, sure you do. And then at the end, she's the one that comes in and, like, saves the world. And never-ending story. Like, that is just such an iconic moment. Hello?
No, I actually really, really love Susie's like addition to season 3 and also her continuation to season 4, because that was really unexpected for me. Like, I did not think that was the thing. And also, I hate how Dustin and Will were treated in the beginning of season 3. Like, when everyone has girlfriends and da-da-da-da-da-da, and it just like sucks. Like, that was so gut-wrenching. Like, that like first and second episode.
Yeah.
Also, this is, like, small, but, like, when they surprise Gaten in his house when he comes back from camp, and the return of the Farrah Fawcett spray, when he sprays Lucas in the face with it. Yes. That's such a great moment. It's such a callback to season 2.
Which is so fun.
It's just, it's awesome.
Wait, honestly, crazy question. How old were they in season 3? Like, how old are they supposed to be? Because I don't remember. Is this like
13?
Summer before?
14?
Is this summer before freshman year?
High school.
Yeah, summer before freshman year.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I just feel like all of their dynamics, like, it's so summer before freshman year. It makes so much sense, and I think there's just they're so mature for their age, like, because of all the things they have to shoulder and the way they have to save the world so often. But it's just there's so much that happens in this season. Like, I'm just remembering, like, Murray's one of my favorite characters.
Yes,
my
Murray.
Dad's favorite character is Murray. Shout out, Dad.
I love him. I love how he becomes a bigger character. I love how he is always the matchmaker character, you know what I mean? He's always the one that's just pushing people, giving them a little nudge to where they need to go. And he really is a key character in this season, I feel like.
And also, he's so strong, like, individually, too. Like, especially, well, this is jumping, but, like, especially in season 4, like, him and Joyce are dream team. And they wouldn't have gotten Hopper back without Murray and his skills. Yeah. And then Murray's, like, when they were impersonating the Russian soldiers to break into Starcourt and everything, him and Joyce, like, yeah, I love them.
Murray is definitely, he just, like, stands out as such, like, a unique character. I also think like his interactions and like that whole, the adults, especially with Alexei, was just like so fun. Like I loved Alexei as a character. He was so fun. Like such a a sad ending for him.
I know.
But him just like I don't know. It's like them like all like eating Burger King and like him like sipping on like a Frosty is just like or a Slurpee is just like so random, but like also just like really funny and really fun. And I think like you were kind of talking a little bit about like some of the joy that kind of this they you were talking about a little bit about how all the kids have kind of like had to go through these really difficult things, but this season kind of lets them be kids again almost, at least at the beginning. They're still allowed to kind of have those moments of joy and happiness and things like that that we don't necessarily get to see as much in the first two seasons.
Yes, I agree. Wait, one more thing before we move on from like the individual moments that we love. When Dustin visits Steve for the first time at Skips Ahoy and they have their handshake.
It's so good. And just that whole exchange where he's like, "You got the job.
I got the job.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's like Harrington. Like, and
Yeah, oh.
Robin's just standing there like, what in the world is happening?
How many children are
How many
you
children are you
friends
friends
Right,
with?
exactly.
I love that so much. Okay, we touched a little bit about this, but like characters. Who are your favorite characters from season 3? Can be like duos, groups, arcs.
Wait, okay,
characters.
not my like top favorite, but I really would love to talk about Karen Wheeler. I feel like there's a lot to be said,
Truth.
right? I feel like there's a lot to be said about Karen Wheeler.
There is.
I think that, first of all, her hair evolution in the seasons tells you a lot about her. No, I'm serious. Are you laughing at me?
No, I know
I'm
exactly
being
where
so
you're going
serious.
with this. Yeah.
She's a character that has always kind of been in the background, but more so than Ted Wheeler, she is aware of what's going on, like some pieces of it, and I feel like she tries a little bit more to be aware of it. Like Ted, he sits in his chair, he falls asleep, he never knows what's happening, okay? But Karen, she's like, Mike, where'd you go? Like, where have you been? She doesn't know what's going on fully, but she is, like, trying to at least pretend that she cares. And there's just, the whole season gets so messy with her, and I think she's a character that kind of gets lost a little bit, and she's, like, trying to find her way, and I feel like she's become a bigger character as the show's gone on, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with her in this upcoming season.
Like, I know that she's kind of on the sidelines when it comes to the big action of season 3, but when we think about it, huge plot, like, development of Billy is getting, like, possessed, right?
Right.
By the Mind Flayer. And Karen Wheeler, like, his destination to there, only reason that he got infected. I mean, it would have eventually happened.
But she's the
like,
catalyst.
She's
you
the
know?
exactly. She's the inciting
Exactly.
incident.
Exactly.
To
Yeah.
use the fancy film terms.
Exactly,
And, like,
exactly.
yeah. And, like, I don't know. I think that, like, is notable for sure.
Wait, also, this is just coming back to me now. Wait, I'm like 99% sure this is in season 3, but I might be going crazy. Isn't this the season where Nancy is working at, like, the newspaper?
Nancy and Jonathan,
Yes,
both of them. Yeah.
and they all call her Nancy Drew, and she's, like, following that lead, which is where she finds out about the old woman who's, like, going crazy,
Who's eating dirt.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly,
dirt.
exactly. And I think that that's a really interesting little plot line because obviously, yes, this was in the 80s, but we know Nancy and Jonathan and, like, their dynamic, and we know how much Nancy cares about journalism and how bright and driven and passionate she is. And I think that seeing her constantly belittled in this male-dominated environment is really, like, it goes so against everything that she stands for and has shown because she is such a strong figure, especially because she's an older sister. Like, she has to protect her brother, and she protects him every season. She's always there, like, with an axe at hand. Like, she's just kind of unstoppable and a very powerful female figure in the show. So seeing her put down so much in this environment and belittled and eventually fired. Doesn't she get fired?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that that's, like, another interesting plot point to go back to.
I mean, I keep going back to them, but just like Erica, Dustin, Robin, Steve, like that was just like always, I don't know, my favorite part of the sequence. Them, decoding the message in Russian. I think it was very fun. Kind of seeing that whole dynamic. I think, I think that was kind of always like just my favorite part of the show. Especially of this season. I was thinking about you were talking about Lucas earlier, and just, I don't know why this came to mind, but I just keep on thinking about the fact that they were always talking about Coke, like the like new Coke versus old Coke, and just like Lucas's love of like the like new branded Coke versus the old branded Coke, and I don't know why, but that just makes me love Lucas a little bit. I don't know why, but yeah.
One of my favorite moments from season 3, when they're decoding like the Russian note from the comm that Dustin caught on his cool contraption that he made over summer camp, is when Steve goes, "I know that song," and then he goes to like that little like coin for play ride, and then Robin's like, "What are you doing, bro?" And then he plays like the little, I think it's like a horse or a donkey or
Yeah, yeah.
something. And it's the exact same song, and then everything like
Clicks into
clicks.
place.
Yeah.
And it's like, you go, Steve. Like, you did
Yes.
that.
He's
Or-
so smart now.
I know.
And I think you mentioned Erica. She is one of the most quotable characters in this season. Like, can't spell America without Erica.
True, yeah.
I love her so much. I like that even though she's the youngest there, she is in charge, undoubtedly. Like, she is very fearless. She's very tenacious. She's spunky. She's bright. She is the one that like has the most ideas and knows what's going on, and she's like, oh, we clearly have to do this, and it's just so funny to me because like it's just such an interesting dynamic, but I love her. She becomes less of the meddlesome little sister and more of a character in her own right, and she only keeps growing into season 4, and I just feel like for me Stranger Things has become such an not intergenerational thing, but it's like the way that it's not just about Mike and Will and Dustin and Lucas and that friend group. It's like also their older siblings and their younger siblings, and how like they all come together, and like at the end of the day, the age differences don't matter. That doesn't dictate who's in charge. It's not like Steve and Nancy and Jonathan are bossing them all around all the time. Like they actually listen to the younger kids and they give their opinions and thoughts validity, and they let them take charge. And I think that's so important because especially in a lot of sibling dynamics, like especially in television and film, I feel like you don't see that, The little kids are just kind of brushed off. They don't really know what they're doing. They're just being silly. But no, these are the kids that have saved the world multiple times, So I just love that they're bringing Erica into that. And, like, even though Lucas is a little reluctant at first. He's like, I can't believe you called my sister. But it's like she has so much to say. And she should be there. She should be in that room,
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It's fun to see, these dynamics in, a different way. Seeing, younger siblings and older siblings having to interact, these different age groups, having to interact in that way, but all, vying for, the same goal, trying to stop mind flare, trying to, stop, whatever it is coming out of the Upside Down from, coming out. And I think it's so fun. Talking about Erica, I love how she kind of like, I remember she kind of like lumps Steve in with like the nerd. She's like, oh, yeah, you're just one of the nerds. And Steve's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, you are, and things like that. And I also love with like that dynamic is like Dustin talking about like Steve never actually having won a fight, and like him like finally winning a fight in that, against one of the Russians is just like, even though they get captured, I think was just like so funny. And that's always really enjoyable.
Do you guys have any, like, predictions for season 5 that connect to season 3?
Back to my man Ted Wheeler, I think that something's going to happen with him. I think there's no way that he has been sitting there silently for 4 seasons and they're just going to, like, have him stay like that. Something is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I've seen some theories that maybe he works for the CIA. I don't know. There's a lot that could happen, but I think there's more to be said about Mr. Ted Wheeler. I don't know.
Imagine he, like, saves the day.
No way.
That would be the wildest plot
That's
twist
not
ever.
gonna
That would be
no way,
insane.
Yeah.
Because he's so currently insignificant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like everything is so intentional in Stranger Things.
It is.
You know what I mean? No one is insignificant.
I could see a potential of like either 11 or Hopper kind of potentially dying. Obviously they kind of Hopper almost dies in season 3, or where he's believed to be dead. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they do actually, if he does actually die in this season 5. Honestly, I can picture most characters probably dying in season 5. Like, I don't want to say that, but like, I don't know. I also haven't watched the first 5 minutes, so I don't know.
Me neither. I refuse.
I think it's just all about Will.
I
Yeah.
can't do it.
Oh, I've heard things. I think it's all about Will.
But I just can't. I saw the trailer, but I
Yeah.
can't watch the first 5 minutes.
In terms of like Dustin and Steve, I would be so sad if one of them dies. I do, again, I kind of expect Steve to maybe die. He's gone through such a big character arc already, from season 1 through season 4, and I think has just become like, this hero of a character that everyone kind of at this point I think loves. And so I think in that way it would almost make sense to, I think we could possibly see him, sacrifice himself, to save someone else. I think that definitely seems like a possibility.
That would be the most heartbreaking thing to ever witness ever. If Dustin or Steve die, like, you're not going to see me.
Right.
I'm going to be not here.
I will be in tears in bed for maybe a week.
Me too. I also really don't want Murray to die.
I know.
Murray is so important to me.
I
love him.
I think he's going to die.
I think he's going to die too, but I
don't want him to. Jinx. Yeah, I love him. I feel like this is the season where the relationship between Elle and Hopper is really, like, just blossoming. And like I said before, I feel like this season does so much for Elle in terms of her character growth, in terms of her coming into her own and being her own person, and like the transition from 11 to Jane. Do you know what I mean? And that's so important because not only is it like, her having a name instead of a number, but it's her becoming who she never got to be. Do you know what I mean? And her relationship with Hopper, like, I watched the show for the first time with my dad. Shout out, Dad. And, like, we just rewatched it over the summer with my whole family. And I cry so much at so many moments in Hopper and Elle's relationship because it's like he tragically lost his daughter when she was young, and he went through a lot of loss in his life. And obviously, she never really knew her mom and her family, and she had a really traumatic childhood. So the fact that together they get to be, like, father and daughter, and I don't want to say, like, it's always happy all the time because they go through so much, but the fact that they have each other and they have that relationship is just, it's so special to me. Like, I love it so much. And I think I'm remembering little moments of, like, her being in the house, especially when her and Max have a sleepover, and Hopper comes in and he's, like, yelling because he thinks that Mike's in the room. He's like, leave the door open 3 inches, and he opens the door, and Max and Elle are sitting on her bed reading comic books about female superheroes,
Wonder
which
Woman.
Mike never showed her, and Max is like, this is what you're missing out on. And Hopper's face when he sits down in the chair to watch TV and he knows that, like, 11 has a friend who's a girl, and they're like, she's having a normal childhood moment, like, he's so happy. Like, I could cry right now, like, genuinely, just his pride in her and his pride in seeing her grow as a person and their connection growing, it makes me so happy. I love their little life and their little house. Like, oh, it's just beautiful. I love it.
I think Max is so integral to Elle's character
Yes.
development, especially in season 3 when you talked about the montage between both of them earlier. Like, getting her new clothes, styling her hair, like, like teaching her to break up with boys. Like, I don't know, everything. Like, that not everything is about Mike or has to be about your boyfriend.
Right.
I think that's so beautiful, especially the comic book thing. And then, like, when they're laying on their stomachs reading comic books,
Yes.
and then Homer bursts in, but it's like that,
So
really
good.
silly thing.
They're eating ice cream on the bus.
Yes.
Like, it's just so good.
Yeah.
I love
love
it.
them.
Especially because I think with, like, Max and 11, it started off, very contentious,
Right.
I remember, I think it was in season 2, Mike was, like, on, like, Max's skateboard and things like that, and 11 saw that and, like, freaked out. And so I think, like, having, that be resolved really quickly and, their friendship kind of, blossoming in this season was, like, really beautiful and really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys have any, like, final last words about season 3? Anything we say before we wrap up?
Is this the season where Murray reveals that he does Tai Chi and he's been practicing it on Sundays?
I think so.
Sorry. That's my final last words, is that Murray's awesome and he will go to whatever lengths he needs to save his friends. And he's such a hermit, so I feel like him coming out of his shell and embracing this giant gaggle of people and children, like, it's just so uncharacteristic, but, like, he loves them and he's in it now, and once you're in it, you can't back away.
I love, like, his role of translating between Alexi and Hopper and Joyce. Like, that was so nice and wholesome. Especially because he's definitely, like, on Hopper and Joyce's side. But he definitely warms up to Alexi, and he definitely likes it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
sad. He was so sad when he died.
Yeah. That was a really tragic.
I low-key cried during that.
Yeah.
I cry so much at this show.
Me too.
I sobbed at the season
I'm gonna-
4 finale.
I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be sobbing in season 5 the
First
whole time,
episode's
like the
gonna
whole time.
I'm just immediately.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.